Learning through play, education from a gaming perspective. Again, my name is Ryan Rosenthal. I'm an instructor with the Schools of Technology and Design. I'm going to put some of my contact information here so that you have that, and a little description about what this talk is going to be about. This session is going to explore some parallels of game design and education. So we're going to discuss some of the similarities in the experience that students might have that are kind of on the same line of what a gamer might have, and then how that can impact their classroom. What is a game? What does it mean to have a game? And a game could be an activity providing entertainment or amusement. It's a pastime, right? Party games, word games, different things like that. That could be a game. We could also look at, informal definition. It's informal, an active interest or pursuit, especially one involving competitive engagement or adherence to rules, right? So this is like the literal definition of what is a game. So when we look at this, we can then start looking at what is a gamer, right? So again, we can look at the actual definition of it, and Technopedia would describe a gamer as gamer's hobbyist, an individual that enjoys playing various types of digital or online games. And that is kind of where we're going to go with that a little bit in this talk. But generally, if we look at this from kind of the IT perspective, we're looking at a full range of electronics, right? All of these different digital tools, digital games. And again, this can come in mobile, this can come in tablet, this can be PC, this can be console. But we hear this term gamification, and some people are still maybe not really sure about what that means. So again, we can look at, a technical definition here. But gamification would be the incorporation of game elements. So things like point, reward systems, tasks as incentives, right, to get people to participate, to get people involved in what's going on. It's about making something that's potentially tedious fun, right? We're making it into a game. So gamification, it's effective because it taps into the people's natural desires for the competition, for achievement, for the advancement. And we find that managers, teachers, we can use this gamification to actually increase the participation, and we can improve productivity if we can harness that, if we can kind of make things feel not so tedious. And it's designed to motivate people, right? So you can have all different kinds of things and challenges, weight loss challenges, learning foreign languages, just things to track your progress and to feel like you're accomplishing something. And that's really at the core of it, of what that's about. So questions we should ask ourselves when we're looking at this is, how do different generations react to this environment? Is it something that's easily adoptable by everyone? How are games either the same or different for various generations? Now, we can't just, it's not a one-size-fits-all. All our students are different. We can't just implement, these game systems and think that it's going to work for everybody. So again, we have to kind of have a care about that, to realize what it is that we're doing with this. Technology has evolved, right? It's advanced, access to media has evolved. Things are changing for the end user, for that consumer, right? It's either adopted or it's inherited. So we either have to make changes to it, or it's just something that we're naturally grown into. And these are just things to be aware of as we're looking at this. So storytelling moving into print has really changed the world. And then that moves into audio video, and now it's we're kind of a passive consumer on it. And now it's moving into this interactivity where actually we can start to control the environment. We can control where it is that we want to go with the different things that we're accessing. So how does that influence the learner, right? How does that ability to control what you want to do affect what they have to do? Get my mouse over there. So what are some general requirements for a game? Well, we could say players, right? Possibly, you need some players. Rules, there has to be some kind of defined area that we're working with. Goals, right? What are we trying to achieve? What's the purpose? What's the mission? Maybe there's a time constraint, right? If not a goal, maybe you have a certain amount of time that something has to be accomplished in. A win state. Possibly there's a win state that would be involved to signal, maybe when the end of the game was. Some type of environment. Is it a board? Is it a field? Is it, a conceptual thing? Absolutely. How about penalties? Maybe there's penalties involved with maybe making a wrong move or some by chance thing happened. Or a reward system. And a reward system is kind of where we find a lot of, it's a big part of this whole process, of this whole thing. What's that reward system? What's the feedback loop to the gamer? This is almost, we can draw a lot of these parallels to what's in a course, right? There's these fixed things that have to be addressed to have a successful course. Looking at this idea of, well, somebody would rather play a game than, do their coursework. Well, that's because there's this addictive part of games. So what makes a game addictive? And there can be, different things here, but quick speedly list has some great ideas here about there's an implementation of the right reward system. There's something that the gamer's getting back from it. There's this feedback loop. There's maybe a short learning curve. They get this new item. They have to learn how to use it. They can quickly master that before they move on. There's different psychological needs being met. There's social connections. There's a feedback loop. There's this positive reinforcement of different ideas. And something we should be aware of is that the pleasurable part of the brain is conditionable, and this is a big part of why people get into a game and continue to play it. Maybe there's a negative emotion that's raised, but then it's eliminated. It's not something that lingers, right? They might fail something, but then they're back in trying again. So yeah, there may be negative aspects, but then they're eliminated. Something happens even when the game's turned off. Maybe you have, like a farm bill. You planted the crops and you closed the game down and you left. When you came back, the crops are growing. You did something. You prepared something to happen, and it's working. These are feedback loops that are happening, and all this builds together. There's a competitive spirit. Somebody was mentioning competition, competitive, different things like that. There's different forms of self-expression, and absolutely, this is a big part, especially with things like the role-playing game. They're building their character. What they do, their character is enhanced with. The different sets of armor or clothes that they're getting because they accomplished a certain mission. Something that they can wear and show off. It's got a sense of progress. There's something that they can see. They can now do something that somebody else joining the game can't do because the other person hasn't done that yet. So these are all just some general ideas about why there's this connection. Players are motivated by a sense of accomplishment. They can see that. They want to do more because they're getting that feedback loop. They're encouraged to complete a mission. We're giving rewards. There's bonus loot. There's badges. There's different things they can show off. There are little bragging rights about different things. They can display this to other players. They can say, hey, look what I got because I did this, right? So there's this sense of accomplishment. But then there's also something happening. There's chemicals, right? There's different things happening in the body, in the brain. There's endorphins that are being involved. There's serotonin being involved. There's dopamine, which is probably the big one, and one that I'll take a slide to talk about here. But there's absolutely something that's happening that's being triggered, and it's being again with the feedback loop. For us, we need to be aware of these things that, again, this is from a gaming perspective, but is there something we can draw from that in what we do? So guiding the learner here, we have a player that fails can go back, they can correct their efforts, they can try again, they may have a new focus, they may have a new tool that's with them that they didn't previously have that they had to go back and get. So what about when a student fails in the classroom? Are we allowing them to fail? Are we allowing them an opportunity to relearn that, to go back, to try again, to show more of that effort? Is that something that's built in of what we're doing? In a game, we get different clues. It's signal events. We get different things, like changes of things, of music changes when you're about to go into that boss fight. Maybe the lighting changes when you change a scene. The colors change. Different things like that are presented to the gamer. How do we present new concepts and topics to students? How do we let them know that this is something that, this is important, other than just saying it? Is there something that we're giving to the student that they can pick up on? We're in a consumer-driven media environment. We were talking earlier. The person drives their experiences to what they want. You don't have, 3 stations anymore that you can flip through. Now we can actually choose what we want to view. So this is a consumer-driven media environment. How does that compared to the sense of control that the student has in a course? Do they feel like they have any of that control? Could that be a factor in maybe their involvement or what they want to do with the course? So the progression and mastery, gamers, they've got clear objectives. There's set multiple difficulty levels. They can adapt prior knowledge to what they're doing. And it's really the pace of the learner is something that is different. So in a game, they can kind of control that pace. It's not something where they're having to wait for another. But they require learning to be active. So there's immediate feedback, there's sufficient practice, and it gets to the point of mastery. So levels of progress, well sequenced. Success at later levels is really contingent upon the mastery of all your earlier levels. And games enable the gamer to practice the same concepts, different contexts, but it encourages this transfer of skill. So they might learn how to do something in one situation, but then they can apply it in a new way down the road. And that's going to be something that now is retained. That's a mastery of that skill. And I think there's a lot of parallel what we could do in the class. I've got some additional resources here. Feel free, this goes across all programs. It's the general idea of the learner. So, all right, so thank you very much for attending. This was Learning Through Play, Education from a Gaming Perspective. I'm Ryan Rosenthal. I'm going to leave my email up here. Thank you for joining, and I look forward to seeing you again very soon.